Railroads are the lifeblood of America, hauling millions of tons of passengers and freight per year across the country in a seemingly endless operation. But while the railroads themselves have been shunned by the American public in recent years, a new hobby has arisen to become one of the most popular in America today. This hobby is known as railfanning. Come along with us as we venture forth into the railfanning community. We'll meet some local Milwaukee fans who will give us their take on the hobby. We'll also show you what a day on a railfan outing might look like as we take you to one of Milwaukee's best railroading hotspots. I'm Kaye, and you're about to discover and experience one of the most popular and eclectic hobbies in America today. This is tracking trains. Railroads. At one time, they conveyed a sense of adventure and excitement for the American community. Trains sprinted across landscapes at seemingly unattainable speeds, carrying people and cargo to cities, towns, and unknown places far beyond the horizon. In the modern day, however, railroads have taken on a more negative image. People trying to sleep peacefully at night are rudely awakened as a train blasts through their town, horns screaming for road crossings. Motorists gnash their teeth in frustration, as these same road crossings are often blocked for minutes, maybe hours on end. And protesters cry out in fear and anger, as trains regularly carry chemicals like crude oil, propane, and chlorine, just to name a few, through their towns on a daily basis. Yet, in the midst of all this frustration and agony, a new form of hobby has arisen to become one of the most popular in America today. Tracking trains, or railfanning, as it's more commonly known, is exactly what it sounds like. Folks gather at the railroads all around the country simply to watch the trains go by. Others take their cameras and photograph and video them for social media, like YouTube and Facebook. Others chase them, sometimes covering hundreds of miles, even whole states in one day. Yet railfanning has never really had a specific definition. While it's majorly called a hobby, others have called it a sport, even an art form. So, let's start with one simple question. What is railfanning? We might have seen them, standing trackside with their cameras, sometimes spending whole days out along the railroad. Yet, most of us never even take notice. So then, what is railfanning? What compels a person to watch, photograph, and even chase these seeming monsters of machines? If you were to ask every railfan that question, you likely wouldn't get the same answer.
Railfanning is a get-together of folks or by yourself and sharing the camaraderie of a common interest. Watching America's railroads move products from one end of the country to the other and passengers, and seeing all the different equipment going through your area and destinations all over the country. And what I like about it is I take it to another step. I like videotaping them or photographing them, and mainly I like to document what's happening now for future generations to see maybe what I've put out, just like our elders did back then.
Railfanning to me, it's pretty much the way that I go to just kind of just forget about all the stress and everything outside of my life, because railfanning has been a hobby for me ever since I can remember. And just the thrill of seeing like just something so massive like going by you at like 60 miles an hour is honestly to me is super cool. So yeah.
Okay, now that's all very well and good, but what do they get out of it? It's just a machine, right?
Excuse me. I like to get out and enjoy the fresh air. And if there's a group of people or some other people rail fanning, I like to go and see how it's going and share the camaraderie and interests, and even out by myself though, I like to just take in all the sights and sounds, and just it almost helps me relax. There's a certain part of people that have different things they do for relaxation. Well, sometimes it's rail fanning, just to seeing the power of America's freight moving around, and just the sound of the diesels and just taking it all in, it's very nice, and especially when you're out in the country waiting for one to get out, hear all the nature sounds and stuff. It's very relaxing.
Oh yeah, just the thrill, just the ground shaking feeling that happens when the train is passing by, because some of those things, like, it's crazy how many tons that they are, like 13,000, even more.
Yeah, some of them are 9,000 plus foot long.
Oh yeah.
But it's not just mainline railroading. The railfan community also has ties to the railroad preservation industry. Museums across the country regularly rely on volunteers, many of whom are railfans themselves, to keep their vintage pieces of equipment rolling for the public year after year.
Well, it's kind of got to think about it as like peer pressure in high school to do things you don't want to do. Well, shouldn't say that, but like, because if you're thinking about doing that, you probably want to do it. Pretty much like you see if there's a large railfan community in a certain area where there's a steam locomotive, like for example out in Virginia, there's Norfolk and Western 611. The group decided to restore that to operation yet again just last year.
Time, right?
Yeah, for the second year, and drawing in thousands and thousands of people, actually probably millions. And honestly, that's probably the biggest part that rail fans have within rail preservation, is about just the popularity.
Indeed, the railfan community is not just one of the most eccentric around, but it is also one of the most friendly. For those considering railfanning as a hobby for the first time, the veterans have plenty of advice for you.
Yes, number one and utmost importance to this hobby is safety and situational awareness. Always no trespassing on railroad property, and never get too close to rolling equipment, because things hang off, they drag off the rail cars and stuff, and they're going fast. And some of them items can actually hurt you very bad or even kill you. And that's the number one. Safety is an aspect of this. And then another situation I've come into, have respect for everyone, and vice versa. Maybe communicate with the other photographers or people taking video. Say, hey, am I going to be in your shot, or vice versa. Maybe get some communication going, and be polite. Common courtesy goes a long way. Some of it's inexpensive and some of it's expensive going into this hobby, and it all depends how much you want to put into it. And basically, you can just go out on, locally and not spend really anything at all. So it just depends upon the person.
When you're out there, be patient. Like, some days the trains will be coming every 20 minutes or so. Other days, you gotta wait over an hour, maybe even 2 hours. And also, trains, like, they may go from like the same distance as you are to from home to like the spot where you rail fan. Do not rely off of Google Maps for drive times out there for how long the train is away from you, because that's completely false. More often than not, it's a bit longer for the train to get there than it took you.
Interesting, isn't it? How a simple metal machine can evoke such emotion in a person. So much emotion that they'll photograph it and videograph it, and even chase it for miles on end, sometimes across entire states. Hard to believe that at one time, railroads did that for everybody in America. Now, we're going to show you what a railfan's day out might really look like. We're going to take you to Elm Grove, Wisconsin, where the Canadian Pacific's Watertown subdivision from Chicago to the Twin Cities of Minnesota passes right through the city's downtown. And as you're about to see, the action is non-stop. So an annoying, monstrous, noise-making machine turns into something that everyone can enjoy. Whether you're looking at it through the camera or in person, railroads truly are something to behold. We hope that you enjoyed our look into the railfan community and that you learned something about how truly special trains really are. We also hope that you take the time to someday head out and watch the trains roll. I'm Kaye. Thank you for joining us.